Welcome to New Thought Deep Dive. Each week, we dive into a refresher on New Thought spiritual ideas that leave you thinking. Everything about this podcast, from the intro to the script and the presenters, is generated by AI. For more information, please visit newthoughtnexus.net.
Okay, so I want you to picture a scenario. It's a total fantasy, honestly, but just go with me on this.
I'm in.
Imagine you have the budget to hire the single greatest contractor in human history. I mean, a builder who is an absolute legend, unlimited resources, a crew that never sleeps, the best materials. They can build anything you can imagine.
Sounds like a pretty good setup. Sign me up.
Right. It's the dream. So they show up at your lot, bulldozers idling, ready to break ground on your perfect life. And then there's this, awkward silence. The foreman walks up and asks for the plans. And you realize you never hired an architect.
Oh, no.
You never drew the blueprints.
That is a disaster waiting to happen.
It's just total chaos.
Yeah.
Right? Because this crew, they don't stop working. They're designed to build. So without a plan, maybe they, put a kitchen in the bedroom.
Or a wall across the driveway.
Exactly. They just start building based on whatever random idea pops into their head. It doesn't matter how talented the builder is if the design is missing.
And that right there is the core of what we're talking about today. It's a perfect analogy.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We are continuing our journey through the driver's seat material. We're in week 3, and honestly, this feels like the week where the rubber really meets the road.
I think that's fair. I mean, if you look at where we've been, we talked about the engine, the universal law, that's the power.
Right.
Then we talked about fuel, which is our desire. But, you can have a Ferrari engine and a full tank of gas, but if you don't have your hands on the steering wheel...
You're just driving very, very fast into a ditch.
Or in circles, and that's what today is about, the steering wheel, the blueprint. Because the premise here is, it's almost terrifyingly simple. The universe is always building something for you.
It's an active system.
It's always active. It never takes a coffee break. And if you don't hand it a conscious blueprint...
It doesn't just wait.
No, it keeps building. It builds based on your unconscious habits, your anxieties, that random fear you had 3 years ago that you never quite let go of.
Which is a sobering thought. The idea that we are accidental architects of our own mess.
Exactly.
So the mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We need to figure out how to stop being passengers just hoping for a nice destination and, start being the architects who actually do the map.
Precisely. We need to move from hoping to designing. And I want to flag something for you, the listener, before we really get into the weeds here.
Go ahead.
We need to slow down a bit today. The concepts in this week's material substance, mental equivalence, the absolute versus the relative, these are big ideas.
Heavy.
They're heavy metaphysical ideas, and if we rush them, they just sound like buzzwords. We need to let them land.
I appreciate that because when I was reading through the source notes, I found myself having to reread paragraphs a few times, especially this first concept. The material starts by asking a really fundamental question. If we're building a life, what are we building with?
It's the question of the medium. You can't be a carpenter if you don't understand wood. You can't be a potter if you don't understand clay. And in this world, the material is called substance.
Substance. Okay, now in normal conversation, if I say something has substance, it's heavy, it's solid.
Like a brick wall?
Yeah, a brick wall has substance. But the text here describes it as invisible clay.
Invisible clay is probably the best metaphor we have for it. I want you to try a little visualization with me.
Right.
Imagine the room you're sitting in right now. To your eyes, the space between you and the wall, it looks empty, right? It's just air.
Right. Empty space.
But the premise here is that it isn't empty. Imagine it's filled with a dense, invisible, intelligent dough. It's everywhere. It's in the space between us. It's inside of you. It's extending out into the entire universe.
Okay, so I'm swimming in invisible Play-Doh.
Essentially, yes. This is substance. It is the unformed energy of everything. And here's the crucial part. On its own, it has no shape. It is pure potential, but it is incredibly sensitive.
Sensitive to what?
To you. To consciousness, to your thoughts. It's like a memory foam that never stops reacting. It presses itself into whatever shape your mind holds. It's just waiting constantly.
So it's not passive, it's responsive.
It's aggressively responsive. And this is where people get tripped up. There's a huge distinction the source material makes between matter and substance.
Yeah, let's unpack that because I think when people hear about manifestation, they think it's some kind of magic trick, like, poof, I'm creating a rabbit out of thin air.
Creating something from nothing.
Exactly.
And that's the hang-up that makes people skeptical. You are never creating something from nothing. You're shaping something that is already there. Matter, the chair you're sitting on, the car in your driveway, that's the finished product. That's the clay after it's been molded and baked.
Okay, so that's the result.
That's the result. Substance is the energy before it takes shape. So when you're doing this work, you aren't playing God and inventing atoms. You're taking this formless, intelligent energy that's everywhere, and you're just giving it a specific shape.
I like the note in the text that says, this substance is friendly.
It's a lovely way to put it, isn't it?
It is. Because a lot of the time, it feels like the universe is indifferent or maybe even hostile. Like we have to fight it to get what we want.
That's the whole struggle mindset. But the material says, no, the substance wants to take shape. It flows into your molds effortlessly. It's not resisting you. It's like water flowing into a pitcher. It doesn't argue about the shape of the pitcher. It just fills it.
So we have this friendly, invisible clay. That's the raw material. But I can't exactly reach out with my hands and mold it. I don't have, energy thumbs. So how do we actually shape it?
You use a different tool. And this brings us to the absolute core mechanism of this entire week's lesson. If you take away only one thing, it should be this concept, the mental equivalent.
The mental equivalent sounds a bit technical, almost mathematical.
It is a bit mathematical. It's an equation, really. The rule is the universe cannot give you what you cannot mentally accept. You have to build the container, the equivalent in your mind, before the content can appear in your life.
So, to put it bluntly, I can't have $1 million life with a $10 mindset.
You literally can't. The structure won't hold it. It would spill over. And this is where we get the cookie cutter analogy, which I think is just brilliant in its simplicity.
I love this analogy. Let's walk through it.
Okay, so think back to that invisible clay, that infinite potential. That's the dough. It's rolled out on the table of the universe and it extends forever. It could be anything.
Right. A star, a heart, a tree.
Anything. Now, you are standing at that table, and in your hand, you're holding a cookie cutter. That cutter is your mind. It's your dominant belief, your deep-seated thoughts, your expectations.
So the dough is the potential and my mind is the shape.
Exactly. You press that cutter into the dough fills the shape. You put it in the oven, which is the law, the engine we talked about in week 1, and it bakes. And the result, the baked cookie.
Okay.
That's your life.
I see where this is going. And I think I see why some of my cookies are burnt.
Well, here's the kicker. If you want a star-shaped cookie, let's say the star represents success, you cannot hold a heart-shaped cutter. Or, more accurately, if you want abundance, you cannot hold a cutter that's shaped like fear or I'm not enough.
Because the dough doesn't care.
The dough doesn't care.
Yeah.
That is the most liberating and also the most terrifying part of this whole philosophy. The dough doesn't judge the shape. It doesn't look at your cutter and say, hey, buddy, that's a really jagged, ugly shape. Are you sure?
It just feels it.
It just feels it. It says yes.
Wow, that puts a massive amount of responsibility on us. Because usually when the cookies come out looking terrible, we blame the oven.
Yeah.
We blame the dough. Oh, the economy's bad, or my boss is a jerk.
Right. We blame the external conditions, but this philosophy says you can't blame the oven. The oven worked perfectly. It baked exactly what you cut out. You have to change the cutter. And that's the shift from victimhood to architecture.
Okay, but I want to push back on this a little bit because changing the cutter, it sounds easy in theory. Just think positive. But if I've been using the I'm broke cutter for 20 years, that thing is rusted into my hand. It feels like a part of me. How do we actually swap it out?
That is the million-dollar question. And the answer requires us to step back and look at the architecture of reality. We have to understand where these new cutters even come from. Because the good news is we don't have to invent them from scratch.
Okay. The notes talk about 2 levels of reality here, the absolute and the relative.
Yes. And don't let the capital letters scare you. It's simpler than it sounds.
I'll try not to.
Think of the absolute as this giant warehouse of perfect blueprints. It is the invisible realm of pure ideas. The soleil material argues that the perfect idea of everything already exists there. Perfect health isn't something you have to invent. The idea of it already exists. Perfect wealth, perfect peace, they are all finished patterns just sitting there.
And the relative.
That's down here. That's the physical world where things change and grow and decay. It's where we live.
So when we talk about visualization, which is a word that gets thrown around a lot, we aren't just daydreaming. We're not just making stuff up.
No. And this is where so many people get visualization wrong. They think it's escapism. But in this context, visualization is the act of selecting a perfect pattern from the absolute and bringing it down into the relative.
You're shopping in the warehouse.
You're shopping in the warehouse. Exactly. You aren't trying to force your body to be healthy. You are selecting the perfect pattern of health that already exists and then imposing that pattern on the clay.
There was an analogy about an acorn in the reading that really helped this click for me.
The acorn is classic. It's perfect. If you look at an acorn, what you see?
Just a little nut.
Right. You don't see an oak tree. But if you cut it open, you won't find a tiny microscopic tree inside either. But the pattern of the oak tree is there. It's encoded.
The blueprint is in the seed.
It's in the seed. You don't have to add oak tree to the acorn. You don't have to teach it how to grow branches. You just have to provide the right environment, the soil, the water, the sun. You do that, and the pattern unfolds. It's inevitable.
And in this analogy, the soil is our mental atmosphere.
Yes. If you provide a mental atmosphere of confidence and expectancy, the pattern of success, which is already within you, just like the oak is in the acorn, it just unfolds. You aren't forcing it, you're allowing it.
That feels remarkably less stressful. I don't have to invent my success. I just have to nurture the pattern of it.
It takes all the pressure off the how. You just focus on the what.
Okay, so we have the clay, which is substance. We have the cookie cutter, our mental equivalent. We know the perfect patterns exist in the absolute. Now, let's get practical. How do we actually do this? The notes mention a specific practice called the workshop of the silence.
The workshop of the silence. It sounds very mystical, but it's actually a very disciplined, practical exercise. It's the daily practice of consciously pressing that new cutter into the clay.
So walk us through it. What do we do?
The material breaks it down into 3 specific phases. Phase 1 is relaxation. You have to still the body. You can't mold the clay while you're running a marathon or scrolling through social media. You have to enter the architect's office, and that office needs to be quiet.
Makes sense. Hard to focus on the blueprint when the construction site is noisy.
Phase 2 is the hardest for most people. It's called cleaning the slate. You have to let go of the facts of the day.
Whoa, wait, the facts? You mean like the fact that my back hurts or the fact that I'm overdue on a bill?
Yes, those facts.
That sounds a little delusional. How am I supposed to just ignore reality?
You aren't ignoring reality. You're recognizing that those facts are just old blueprints. They are the ghosts of your past thinking. They're the old cookies you baked last week.
Yeah.
If you bring those burnt cookies into the workshop with you, what are you going to do?
You're just going to use them as a model to bake more burnt cookies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That puts it in perspective.
Okay, so I'm not saying they aren't real. I'm just saying they're past tense. I'm wiping the drafting table clean so I can draw something new.
Precisely. You wipe the table. Now, phase 3. Create the picture. But here's the trick, and this is where most people fail. You have to see it happening right now. Not, I will be happy one day, but walking through the rooms of the new house now.
The now part is tricky. My brain always wants to kick it to next year. It feels safer to dream about the future.
Because the future is safe. The future doesn't require change today. But the clay only exists in the present. And there's a secret ingredient that bridges that gap between the picture in your head and the reality in your hand. The sources call it feeling.
Feeling.
Yes, you can draw a picture of a house, but that's just lines on paper. The feeling is what makes it three-dimensional. The image provides the shape, but the feeling provides the power. It's the difference between a drawing and a building.
So, to get specific, it's not enough to just visualize the new car. I have to feel the leather on the steering wheel, feel the adrenaline of driving it.
You have to feel the relief of having it. You have to feel the gratitude. That emotional signature is what impresses the clay. It is the stamp.
It's moving from begging to knowing.
That's the shift. When you beg, you are affirming you don't have it. Please give me this is a statement of lack. The universe hears lack and gives you more lack. When you visualize with feeling, you're accepting it's done. You're feeling the reality of it before the physical evidence shows up.
That is the discipline. Feeling happy when the fact is that you're sad.
It's mental athletics. That's why it's a practice. You don't go to the gym once and bench press 300 pounds. You practice the feeling until it becomes your natural state.
So we do our 10 minutes in the workshop. We feel the feeling. We set the blueprint. The timer goes off. We get up. Now we have to go to work, sit in traffic, deal with our boss. What happens then?
This is segment 5, Living the Vision, the 24/7 application. And this is where the blueprint usually gets torn up.
Because I can undo all that good Zen work pretty fast if someone cuts me off on the freeway.
Exactly. The sources warn about visualizing for 10 minutes and worrying for 10 hours. Remember, the cookie cutter is always in your hand. You don't put it down when you leave the meditation chair. If you spend your morning visualizing abundance and then spend the rest of the day complaining about prices,
I'm taking the abundance cutter out and swapping it right back for the lack cutter.
and you're just chopping up the dough with anxiety, you're confusing the universe. Do you want the star or the blob? Make up your mind.
It is. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. The 24-hour blueprint.
It's not about being perfect. It's about being conscious. It's about catching yourself when you pick up that old cutter and just saying, whoops, nope, put that down.
The notes mention a specific application for this with difficult people. This is my favorite part because, let's be honest, other people are the hardest part of any spiritual practice.
They are. But here's how you use the blueprint on a grumpy boss or a difficult family member. You apply the exact same rule. Don't look at the fact of their behavior.
But they're yelling at me. That's a fact.
It's a fact, but it's a relative fact. If you focus on their anger, if you react to it, you're co-signing that reality. You are holding up a jerky boss cookie cutter and saying, yes, more of this, please.
So what do? Pretend they're singing opera?
You look for their perfect pattern. You visualize their peaceful center. Even if they are screaming, you hold a mental picture of them as calm, reasonable, and kind. You hold that new cookie cutter steady, even when the dough is messy.
I'm refusing to co-sign their drama.
You are interacting with their highest potential, not their lowest behavior. And the crazy thing is, often they shift. They respond to the cutter you're holding. They calm down. And they don't even know why.
Because we're all connected by that same invisible clay.
Exactly. And you can do this with problems too. A flat tire isn't a disaster. It's just raw clay. Maybe it's an opportunity to slow down or meet someone new. You shape the meaning of the event.
It really does put you back in the driver's seat. It stops you from just being a victim of circumstance.
That is the ultimate goal, to move from reacting to creating.
Okay, let's bring this home. We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We've got the invisible clay, which is substance. We've got the cookie cutter, which is our mental equivalent. We have the workshop. If you had to boil this all down to a bumper sticker, what would it be?
The summary is this. You are the architect. You're not a bystander in your own life. The substance of the universe is intelligent, responsive, and friendly. It's waiting now. And your beliefs are the cookie cutter. If you don't like the cookie, change the cutter.
I love that. And we have a specific challenge for you, the listener, this week.
We do. I want you to identify one area of your life where you suspect you're holding a lack cookie cutter. Just one. Don't try to fix the whole house at once.
Maybe it's money. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's your health.
Pick one. And for just this week, consciously shape a new mental equivalent for that one area. Spend 10 minutes in the workshop of the silence. Feel the reality of the new shape. And then, and this is the hard part, when you're walking around during the day, refuse to pick up the old cutter.
Refuse to indulge the old worry.
Starve the old pattern. Feed the new one.
That sounds doable. Hard, but doable.
It changes everything.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought from the source material that really stuck with me. It's this idea of the giant yes.
Go for it.
The idea is that the universe is just a giant yes. It has no ability to say no to your blueprint. It doesn't know how to argue. If you say, I am struggling, the universe says, yes, you are, and creates it. If you say, I am prospering, the universe says, yes, you are, and creates that instead.
It's the ultimate affirmation of your power.
So look at your life right now. What have you been asking for without even realizing it? And more importantly, what do you get asked for tomorrow?
The clay is waiting.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you next time.